Hello and welcome to your show, Souq Pulse. It's a beautiful Monday. We had a lovely weekend. For those that were expecting and thinking it was going to get longer, no, you have to get to work. And work is where we are. Remember, we tell you this every time, without missing words, without even missing a word of it. Don't keep quiet. That's more like the tagline here. I will tell you, hey, not just don't keep quiet, don't be silent. We extend it and tell you, hey, call your neighbor, your friends. Doesn't matter who you have issues with or not, and we talk. Why? They say talk is cheap, but we know that of a truth. This world can only change when we talk, not in silence. And so we measure the heartbeat. We look at businesses and ask, are they doing well? We look at nations that have borrowed beyond their own threshold and ask questions, what have they done with those monies? They also look at countries that have been given these particular monies and ask the policies they put on it before the show, before the monies were taken, and for the businesses to thrive. What exactly were they? Were they done with the right frame of mind? Who is profiting? Who is losing? At the end of the day, what is putting food on the table? What policies, be it from your own side of the government or from people you don't even know, but is affecting you directly or indirectly? So we talk. Souq Pulse, we talk. Today we are going to look at Nigeria. We were there on Friday, so you know where we are heading to. And it's something that is unfolding. And we will not shy away from it. We'll ask direct questions. Same, we also expect of you. Ask questions. Argue if you can. If you don't have the opportunity, but still ask those questions. So today we are looking at the 1st of August protest. Some call it hardship protest. Some call it #end bad governance protest. Some call it take it back protest. Now, is it going to happen? 1st of August, we decide. Is it not going to happen? 1st of August, we decide. But today we'll be looking at something that is stemming from that particular protest, and we are directly asking questions like, what are the demands? On Friday, we asked, the first thing was, is hunger the major thing causing the protest? And the guests for Friday did justice to that. So today we are going to have one of the organizers of Take It Back, and he is no other but a young person too, Damilola Ademola. He's joining us on Souq Pulse today, and we will be looking at the demands. That is all we'll get to do here today. We'll take them one after the other and we'll analyze them. And he will do justice to it. He has no choice. Damilola, welcome to Souq Pulse. Thank you very much. I like the initial smile on your face, and I want you to keep that till when we are done with this program. Good. Now, for the Take It Back, which you are also one of the major organizers, we're also looking at the other names of End Bad Governance, Hardship Protest. I will ask you the same question I asked the very first person I had here on Friday, who happens to be a journalist. If we take hunger out of the equation, are we going to have this protest? From there, we get into the demands.
Of course, we know that hunger is also the end result of bad governance. Hunger is the consequence of years of misrule. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Definitely, go ahead, I can hear you.
Hunger is the consequence of years of maladministration. Hunger is the end product of years of economic mismanagement, which has been occasioned by the Nigerian ruling class. And if you take hunger away from it, it's as though you have, cut the stem of the problem, or you have scraped the leaves of the problem. Why we are calling for end bad governance is that we are going to the foundation of the problem. The root of our problem today is bad governance. And if we are able to resolve that, then we have resolved the question of hunger, we have resolved the question of unemployment, and we have resolved the question of corruption. So our major demand is that we want bad governance to be ended in this country, and we want a corruption-free political system in Nigeria, which would reflect the interest of the common people in Nigeria, other than serving the purpose of the Nigerian elites.
Thank you very much, Damilola. I wanted you to take that out of the way. If we take out hunger, you say it's just the stem we are cutting, but you're looking for the root. Now, let's go to, will I call it a manifesto or the communique for the Days of Rage protest? And there are demands, 15 of them. We have 40 minutes, and I want us to do justice to this, one after the other. The first one is scrap the 1999 Constitution and replace it with a people-made constitution for the Federal Republic of Nigeria through sovereign national conference, immediately followed by a national referendum. Now, let's get to ask ourselves, if we are looking at this via protest, what exactly are the duties of the National Assembly?
Of course, we aren't protesting against the executive arm of government alone. We're protesting against all the parastatals of government. We're protesting from the beginning from the president down to the local government chairman, protesting against the courts, the judicial system, and we're protesting against the legislative arm of government. And it doesn't exclude any arm of government, especially when they all exist to serve the interest of the people. So we are saying that we want a new constitution because we recognize that the constitution currently being used to run the affairs of this country was made by the military government, and it was without the representation of the Nigerian people. And we have seen the consequence of it for the fact that Nigeria has been disorganized. We have seen former governors and former office holders escaping or going away with bare impunity. We have seen Yahya Bello, for instance, who is still on the run and is escaping justice merely because we have a constitution that is so weak that it cannot hold corrupt and politicians who perceive themselves stronger or above the law. So if we have a strong constitution, then I'm sure that individuals will be careful when they are coming to power. Individuals will not feel themselves above the law. So we need a strong law to govern this land such that individuals are not stronger than the law. They are not stronger than the constitution, and they are unable to subvert the constitution. We need a constitution that checks the excessive use of political the excessive use of political power by political appointees and anybody who finds themselves in power. And we also need constitution.
Hold on to your thought. Hold on to your thought, Dami. Now, we have constitutional review happening within the National Assembly. We have committees that have been formed for constitutional review. That has been ongoing for a long time. Now, we also have a sovereign national conference that took place years back. If we are asking for this at this particular point in time, hope we know is not just going to happen at the national level. There are local levels, there are state levels before now come national. Are we looking at all this happening?
Of course, we are saying that the processes should be initiated and it should be followed by a referendum. You understand? Call a constitutional conference that represents the interest of every part of this country, all the local governments in this country, and ensure that it is all encompassing. It carries along everybody in this country. Let everybody come and tell the conference their own interest, and let's have a constitution that takes consideration of our diversity. Let's have a constitution that will bring to action our hope of restructuring of this country in order to have effective governance. That's what we are saying. And every time we discuss the issue of having a new constitution, I always encounter counter arguments such as, oh, you know, this process is complex or this or that. But the truth is that why is it that when it is time to serve the people, when it's time to do things correctly, that's when we begin to discuss complexities of issues. But I'll let you know that when we get on the street on August 1st, you will see how easy these processes will be.
Talking about how easy it's going to be, let's go to the second one. Toss the Senate arm of the Nigerian legislative system away, keep the House of Representatives, and make lawmaking a part-time endeavor. Now, when I saw that, I kind of chuckled a bit because that would be a whole lot of money saving. How and where do you think that solution is going to stem from?
Well, let's first admit that it's a problem. For the fact that running a bicameral legislative system is a money draining avenue for retired governors in this country, retired governors and useless politicians who are just looking for a job to do to sustain their lavish life, to sustain their exorbitant lifestyle. And we are saying that these people do not serve the interest of the common people since they've been in this house, isn't it? We've only seen them trying to pass anti-people laws, like the anti-social media laws. We've seen them pass padded budgets to serve their own interests and to, serve the interest of their cronies who are out of power,
Can we expand this a bit? If we are saying we should scrap the Senate arm of government, senators, are you looking at it majorly because of corruption, or you're looking at it because most of the people that get there are those that have served either as governors or some big shots in government as compensation plans or as retirement plans? Is that what you're looking? Is that what you're seeing, or you're looking at it from cutting down on government costs?
Yes, the main objective of asking that the houses be tossed into one is to cut excessive government funding. And it is also to show the uselessness of this house for the time it has existed. Are you getting me? It's clearly it has been useless. They've not passed any law that...
Hold on to your thoughts. Hold on to your thoughts. Now, when we told some certain lines, it's always good to clear those lines that when you say something is useless, mind you, they are there by law. They are inaugurated by law. So if we say something is useless, we need to create emphasis and hold on to those emphasis. If this is a demand, let's hold on to a demand. But we don't throw away something based on... Go ahead. Let me hear you.
House. Would you agree with me if I say they are redundant?
Okay. Still keep that smile. Let's go down to number 3. Number 3, I was looking at it and I was wondering, okay, if the people concerned are not that serious, how come you are taking it this serious? Now, pay Nigerian worker a minimum wage of nothing less than 250,000 naira monthly. Damilola, is that possible?
Mr. Anko, let me return that question to you. Are you able to live on a minimum wage of 70,000 naira monthly? Yes or no?
Now, the minimum wage is for grade level 1. Now, the question I should not start asking people, they had people that were negotiating for them, not people on my own side of the divide. Now, the people that negotiated for them, who happens to be the Nigerian Labour Congress, sat and it took a while and they said, okay, we are agreeing with this. So don't you think this is where you should now call them to question and say, why should you agree to this?
The NLC initially pushed a minimum wage of over 600,000 naira, but the fact that the federal government is careless and they are mindless of the effort of the Nigerian workers in order to keep our economy going and in order to keep the country in order, because who are the people keeping this country safe? The police officers who are safeguarding the lives and properties of you and I, our armies who are fighting for the sovereignty of this country, who are defending the territories, the borders of this country. They are the workers who are going to earn this payment. So it shows that people in power are very, very wicked set of people, and that's why they can only offer. That's why
hold on to your thought. Let's hold on to the 250,000
workers. In fact, that 250,000 naira, given the level of inflation rate in this country, is impracticable. Are you getting me? But we are even saying, okay, it's fine. Give us 250,000 naira minimum wage so that Nigerian workers can, have a living wage, to have a decent way of life. You don't want people to, be working and still be doing criminal activities on the part-time. If you say that you want to offer them 70,000 naira minimum wage, that means that you should admit that while also working to just know that people who are in government parastatals are corrupt people, because you should inquire into how they are able to survive on that, very minute amount of money. You should know that an average worker who is entitled to 70,000 naira, how do you expect them to live with that amount? Then you should be able to admit that such persons engage in corrupt activities. and how the country move
Damilare,
forward.
I really like the strength and the posture you take on this. Now, if we are looking at minimum wage is for grade level one, which really you is difficult for you to see somebody in grade level one. Now, as you climb the ladder,
But
it's supposed to increase. If we say 250,000 at this rate, I will tell you this for free. If we cancel corruption, cancel a whole lot of things, in this, at the state we are right now, this country is broke. Except to start
this
blocking
country,
leakages.
can you hear
This
me?
is not just going to cause inflation the more, this is going to be serious hyperinflation. This is just
Can
simple
you hear me?
economics. So how can we achieve
Can you
this?
hear, can you hear me?
Go ahead, please.
When people pose this defense to me, I feel like we are not being sincere, or let's say we are afraid to hold people in power to account. Now, you say you cannot pay 70,000 rand minimum wage, yet we have not seen you slash the salaries and allowances of people in power. The president himself has not stopped spending lavishly on his luxurious life. Recently, we heard that he bought a private jet worth millions of dollars. Where do we get this money from? When they are making this exorbitant spending and this lavish spending, they don't come and tell us that the country is broke. People in the Senate and the House of Reps, we know how much they get every month from the government coffers. Nobody tells us how the country is broke when these people are being paid. When budgets are being padded in this country, people in power do not take into account how, in quotes, broke the country is. But when it is the time to pay Nigerian workers for the labor they offer you, when it is time to pay the regular police officers who secures your own lives and properties, that is when you know that paying them a living wage would occasion inflation. So what are we saying in essence is that if you can block all the leakages of excessive and lavish government spendings, then the national resources of this. No. Now, that's why we are
We've
saying
gotten
that
to, we are still in number 3. Okay. Can you hear me? We are still in number 3. Now, for the particular points you raised right now, I wish I saw it like in number 2. Like telling the presidency, cut down your spending by 85%, or telling the National Assembly, cut down your spending by 90%. I wish I saw it somewhere in number 2. Would have just brought it up and still talk about it. I don't know if you understand where I'm going to. Now, let's still head down to number 4. Invest heavily in education and give Nigerians student grants and loans. Aggressively pursue free and compulsory education for children across Nigeria. Okay, I think I'll give that a tick. Let's go down to the next one. That's number 5 for me is, number 4 for me is, if you're protesting for number 4, call me. I'll join you. Now, number 5. Release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally and demilitarize the Southeast. All NSAS and political detainees must also be released and could be compensated.
Of course.
Is there any political undertone on this?
No. The fact is that if you are not ready to give Mazi Nnamdi Kanu a free and fair trial and ensure that his rights are protected, why you try him? Then there's no need to keep detaining him arbitrarily. That's an affront on our constitution. So rather than continue to organize a sham trial of him and denying him access to his constitutional rights, to freedom to life, freedom to movement, freedom of expression, and all sorts of human rights that he's entitled to, then you should free him unconditionally. If you have no case against him, then let the man go. And if you believe that you have a case, then let the course of justice take its place. And for instance, protesters, my justification for that is that the current president himself, I'm talking about President Bola Tinubu himself, is a serial protester in this country. He began to protest as early as the 1990s, up till year 2011, year 2012. As far as I'm concerned, he protested his way into power today. So why is he detaining NSAS protesters who were merely calling for the end to police brutality in this country? And on that note, we demand that all NSAS protesters in this country be released, because an injustice to them is an injustice to every young person in this country.
Now let's get to number 6. Renationalize publicly owned enterprise sold to government officials and cronies. At this point in time,
Yes.
On this number 6, I think I would have been happier or smiled the more if we have like data to show, okay, this company was sold to this person or to that person, or this government establishment or building was sold to this person or that person. Now, if we say renationalize, that means government has to buy them back.
Yes, NEPA, as far as I'm concerned, NEPA was sold, NIPOST was sold, and several other public resources, public operations, they were sold. And these deals were corrupt. Now, for instance, when these people wanted to start selling off government properties, what they told us? They said, oh, government is unable to do business. The business of government is not business. These were lies. And they said, oh, if we privatize these things, this corporation has
that really came through Bureau of Public Enterprise and some other agencies. That was like 2 administrations ago.
NEPA proved the state of electricity in this country? No.
I think having those particular establishments in government hands will do them better, or having them in private hands, even if not this particular set of people or this particular set of companies?
Well, when we say renationalize, it is that give it to the control of the people. The state should be in control and manage it in trust for the people. That's what we mean by renationalize.
When we say the state should be in control, let's go back. We had NEPA. Before NEPA, we had it had a different name. Then we have PHCN. Then it went into hands of independent companies. At the point of NEPA and PHCN, it still was not delivering on the goods. Then it went into private discos and gencos, and government still had to put money in it. These are discourse that will take us weeks. If we say nationalize, are we not going back to the failures we had before?
Then we should admit that people in power are incompetent, and then hence the reason why we are calling for electoral reform, so that we can be able to elect competent and political office holders with will to manage the resources of the people in trust for them and to deliver it for the purpose for which they exist. Now, when the state manages it, we can hold the state accountable better. We know that these assets are being managed in trust for us. We can hold them, we can grip them on their lungs, and let them know that, look, you have to make these assets
when the state manages, and these companies or this okay, go ahead.
I said we want these assets to be public assets, which are managed in trust for the people, and they should be used in such a way that the common people benefit from them and not for profit reasons alone.
In many areas, should be state assets, public assets. Okay. Now, have you also observed that over time, things that are public in this side of the continent tends to be nobody's property? It's difficult for people to take responsibility for what they don't see as theirs.
And now, since they have not been privatized, who is taking responsibility to? How better have they served the interest of the people since they have been privatized?
On that issue of the privatization, a whole lot of issues are there. A lot of question marks, right from the date that a lot of those companies were privatized. There has been litigation up, litigation down. There have been insinuations and allegations of the wrong hands those companies went into. They are still there till today. Some of those companies, Ajokuta, for example, had to be bought back by the government. So we knew a lot of issues are there. But my question is this: if we say let it go back to the hands of government that didn't manage it well in the first place, so see,
that's why we are saying. That's why we are saying we want to put an end to bad governance. Are you getting me? If we put an end to bad governance and we have, a strong system that checkmates corruption, checkmates impunity, I don't think how it will be easy for ill-willed political office holders to mismanage our resources.
corruption-free subsidy regime to reduce hunger, starvation, and multidimensional poverty. What exactly were you
Yes.
thinking when this was articulated?
Now, it doesn't matter how much we blow grammar here on this show. What is evident is evident. As soon as President Tinubu came into power and he made that his ill-advised statement that subsidy is removed, we could see the hardship, the untold hardship that followed his careless pronouncement. And since that careless pronouncement, Nigerians have been dipped and have continued to be dipped into this ocean of hardship, poverty, and hunger. We have experienced high rate of food prices. We have experienced an untold amount of transportation costs. We have experienced all sorts of multidimensional poverty, which has now, forced people, decent people, ordinarily decent people, into all forms of, committing criminal activities. And that's why insecurity, for instance, in the FCT is on the rise. People are hungry because they've been pushed out of businesses. Businesses who ordinarily survive on PMS availability had to crumble. And now these people that you pursue out of business, you send them out of their decent way of life. What are you telling them? You are telling them to look for alternatives to survive. And when these people pick up guns, they begin to terrorize the community, creating insecurity.
Let's go back to the subsidy issue. This is one particular topic that we will keep going back and forth, and at a particular point, we will all get confused. Because if I ask you right now, is subsidy still being paid? You will have a different answer from what I will tell you.
You have a corruption regime. A corruption-tainted subsidy regime is what we have. Now, we are saying that return subsidy and make it be corrupt-free. Make the process transparent to common Nigerians, to an average Nigerian to understand how this subsidy is being paid for and where the revenues are coming from and who received these subsidy payments.
Simple question. We have 4 refineries in Nigeria. 4 refineries combined together can give us a production of 445,000 barrels per day. 445,000 barrels per day. Yes, I'm correct. That's government refineries. Have we really asked ourselves why these refineries are not working in the first place? See, it's always they say the buck stops at the table of the leader. 100% yes. But have we also asked ourselves, those particular people that oil the machine that drive government, to what extent have they colluded and made sure things don't work? Now, to the leader itself, both present, past, and those far before him, to what extent have they made sure that things that were not working work? Because if we keep looking at the leader, we'll forget our brother that has also put us in the fire in the first place. The refineries are not working wherever the orders came from to stop them from working. Dangote refinery is not working, whatever is stopping it from working. Why and who are those that have been collecting this subsidy for the past 30-something years? These are also questions we also need to ask. And what we also need to put down on this paper, if you ask me.
Of course, I do agree with you. And that's why we are saying that there should be a corruption-free subsidy regime. Let it be transparent. Are you getting me? And we cannot be making excuses for the government by saying that, oh, some people are somewhere trying to, prevent this system from working. That's the responsibility of the government. The responsibility of the government is to ensure that public assets serve the purpose of the people, the interest of the people. So if you know
let me put it, you said public government property serve the purpose of the people. Now let's get down to number 8 so that we're able to finish this before our time run out. Number 8. I hope you have it in front of you because I want you to read and think about it as we're talking. Number 8, probe past and present Nigerian leaders who have looted the treasury, recover their loot, and deposit it in a special account to fund education, health care, and infrastructure. That is commendable. Okay. Let me remind you of a very certain good-looking general whose name happened to be Abacha. He died well over 20 years ago. As we speak till now, he still keeps blessing us from the grave. Yet we can't account for the monies that have been recovered from Abacha. So who exactly are we going to start holding responsible to hold others responsible?
There are a couple of them. We know them. We know them. We know them, except you and I are saying that we are afraid to go after these people. We know that a political office holder is supposed to be entitled to a certain amount of money as his wage, isn't it? And now we should begin to question them how they are able to afford their luxurious life, their wasteful life, their extravagant lives. Are you getting me? How is the current minister, a current minister who was just appointed likely a year ago or so, how is he able to afford a G-Wagon, a Mercedes vehicle, a G-Wagon Mercedes vehicle of hundreds of millions of naira? Are you getting me? And we have a lot of them who are currently under the investigation of the EFCC, who are who to them are starting to go off the hook of the EFCC due to our faulty judicial system. These guys are very sure that they will escape justice because we have a criminal justice system that is toothless, that is unable to bite the hands of these looters in power. And so all we need to be able to, go after these people is to have a strong constitution.
Now we're going straight to number 9. Number 9 is saying restructure of Nigeria to accommodate Nigeria's diversity, resource control, decentralization, and regional development. Okay. Dari, can you throw more light on that?
Please come again. There was a network glitch.
The number 9 is saying restructure of Nigeria to accommodate Nigeria's diversity, resource control, decentralization, and regional development.
Of course, when we say restructure Nigeria, what we mean is that, we need to recreate a system that will enable each regions in this country to develop on their own, enable each region to have a metropolitan city as Lagos. There's no reason why every region in this country shouldn't have a developed city and metropolitan as Lagos. Are you getting me? So we have to restructure Nigeria. We have to make sure that representation is equal. We have to ensure that there's equality in the way resources, this country's resources are being shared amongst the various regions in this country. And the reason why there are agitations from every corners of this country is because these people feel cheated. They feel that there is inequality in the way resources are being shared in this country. So what are we saying is that let us come together and find a way to restructure this country in order to, showcase our diversity and make sure that we are well managed and make sure that each region in this country is developed, deliberately developed. Allow each region to be responsible so that they can develop themselves. And less focus should be paid to the federal government.
Okay, if I follow your explanation, which means number 9 is number 1 can also sort it out. If we look at constitutional review, then number 1 can also sort out the restructuring issue. Thank you very much. So let's also look at one piece of double words that you use there, resource control. Now, if we say resource control, this has been an issue right from the first day crude oil was discovered. How are we going to tackle that?
Yes.
The Constitutional Conference will tackle that too, if you go by what is written here. So let's go to number 10. Now, this is where I find very interesting. End banditry, terrorism, and violent crimes. Reform the security agencies to stop continuous human rights violations and duplication of security agencies and enhance the physical security of Nigerian citizens. Okay. We've had the issue of insecurity, aside what's happening in the East. In the North, they are the major people victims of this menace.
Yes.
How do you think they would take this particular number?
First of all, to solve the issue of insecurity is not rocket science. I think that if our security agencies boast of competence, like they have been, doing for some days now, coming out to gallivant and then tell the public that, they have intelligence of the people behind this protest, then they should be able to tell Nigerians who are behind the funding of terrorism, for instance, who are importing ammunitions into this country, who particularly are fueling this wave of insecurity in the country. And if you say you cannot
Well,
identify them yet, that
over
means you are.
time, they've been doing that. Don't you think it's more of political considerations to what extent they can go? Because over time, they've been doing that. Our military have
Why are
lived
you playing?
and died in the north, and they continue to do that continuously.
Why are you, I beg to ask you, why are you playing politics at the expense of Nigerian people's lives? So if you want to end security, if you want to end insecurity
Now,
today,
hold
you
on.
should
Now,
be
this is
deliberate.
where I will look at reframing that particular number 10. I don't know if you understand. This is where I would look at reframing that particular number 10. Because if we look at it holistically, we won't be looking at the military from the negative point of view because they have stood up. It now depends on why have they not gone the extra mile, or why are they being pulled back, or why is this not happening?
Yeah, there are indications that money is budgeted to combat the crisis of insecurity in the north are being mindlessly looted. They are being looted. These monies are being converted into dollars and shipped out of this country
Allegedly,
or
do you
buried
have those evidence you
down.
can share with us?
I do not have the paper evidence, but the evidence is it is in the consequence. Why is it that terrorists carry more sophisticated ammunitions than the Nigerian army? Why is it that the Nigerian army officers are underfunded? Why are they underpaid? Why are they bearing less
Why
sophisticated
are they underpaid? Now you see, now you are pulling out some direct phrases that okay, good. We want to hear why are they underfunded, why are they underpaid? Not that first place where we had some allegations that we cannot authenticate as we speak. Underfunding,
No,
underpaid. That I will 100% agree with you.
there's a saying in law. There is a saying in law that the fact speaks for itself. Res ipsa loquitur. The fact speaks for itself. And that's the case here.
Wait for those particular translations. Now let's keep going. One thing is sure, every single one of us, except those that are wired wrongly upstairs, they want a better country. That is a given.
Of course.
Now, for those that will be benefiting from the wrong side of the law, these are things that we on this side will always say no. And we say, hey, people, stand for the right. So at every point in time, for every security agency, let's give them our support. Now, if we also see on the other side that they are going overboard and doing what they should not do, we also call them out. But we won't paint everybody with the same brush. Let's go to number 11. Establish a special energy fund immediately to drive massive corruption-free power sector development. Don't you think this came up in the part where we're looking at our national assets that have been sold?
Of national assets.
Say develop an energy sector. If we say develop an energy sector, can this pass for private businesses? We have a power. We've had a national power bill, an act that was passed a long time ago. Issue was majorly government over involvement. You can't generate, you can't distribute initially before, except of recent that particular act came into law. You can now go for mini grids. If you are generating a whole lot, then you have to take it to the national grid. But now we're still having problem when it comes to transmission. Local governments can, state governments can, people can come together on their streets and do. Why are we not looking at private investment? Me and you, the mall, instead of buying 150 generators for one particular mall in Ikeja, everybody can look forward and buy one big generator and serve everybody. Why are we not looking towards that? Why are we waiting for government to do the do when we know that it has not worked for a very long time?
Generators. Why do we have to buy generators in the first place? Are you trying to tell me that to light up this country is rocket science? Are you saying it is impossible? For how long have we been on this endeavor?
For your generators does not mean those particular things that you pour diesel or pour fuel into. For your hydropower, you still have generators in your motors that drive those windmills. In your windmill, you have generators. Generic name. Now, if we say, okay, let everyone put their heads down and look for how to distribute or generate power in the first place, no matter how small, for different localities, we can now say, good, local government, you are getting money, put your money down here. State government, you don't have the monies of local government anymore, take your hands off. It will be easier than telling government to take a budget again and employ people to get it done. That is still looking for more trouble.
When we talk about energy development, we are not restricted to electricity. Electricity alone. We are not referring to electricity alone. There are other sources of energy production that we have itemized. The government can also invest in solar electricity, solar power. They can also invest in, all sorts of energy production means.
Let's get to number 12. Immediate reconstruction of Nigerian electoral body. Okay, now this has to do with INEC. INEC. How independent can INEC get? That is where that particular question that is in quote. How can we make INEC independent? That's just the major part of it. How can we make INEC independent? We protesting for an independent body. How is it going to work?
The president should not be, for instance, a president seeking re-election is responsible for, appointing the INEC chairman. You can already tell the conflict of interest.
So we are just looking at the same thing. How can INEC be very, very independent? They have their budget, they have their people, they run their things without issues. Is that what we are looking at? Just give me a nod or say no.
Yes. I said to you, the very fundamental is that why is the president responsible for appointing the INEC chairman? That is one of the many issues we have, spotted from our faulty electoral commission. That's why we're asking for electoral reforms. We are looking deeper than, appointment of the chairman. So we're also looking at the technologies with which elections are conducted in this country. And we're also talking about that diaspora voting rights too. Diasporas should be entitled to vote in this country.
That happens to be number 15. Now, let's get to number 13. Massive investment in public works and industrialization will help employ Nigerian teeming youth. Who is investing in what?
Of course. The government has to invest in industrialization of this country, find every means to ensure that this country is industrialized, turn the country to a work site and make citizens busy, make the teeming young people busy.
Have we ever considered that this is 2024? This is no longer the 18th, 19th, or early part of the 20th century, where before the world wars, government had major establishments and were pumping money into military ventures or power and all that. The economy right now is run by people, private people. What government is supposed to do is make sure that the banks are strong enough to fund those private endeavors. Be it grants, be it loans, the government does that provision. And government monitors and provide a level playing field. Not waiting for government. It will fail. Because let's look at the history where we are coming from.
Let me give you an insight into what I'm saying. If you want to get this country to be industrialized, first and foremost, create a business atmosphere, a business-friendly atmosphere where investors are confident of, putting their money. No investor wants to put their money in the insecurity capital of the world. That's one.
Okay. Now insecurity, good. When you say put your money, let's give you another typical example. Bangladesh did not grow by taking or getting investors' money from any place. They started producing what they are good at, textile, utensils, by themselves. When people saw it as was profitable, they now came in. So why can't we emulate that? We have things that have worked for us here in Nigeria. Why can't we emulate that? Must we wait for people to bring in money or wait for government to take a budget and put into industries that won't work?
who amongst our local investors here wants to put their money where they are insecure, where their lives could just be taken in a twinkle of an eye, or where government policies can just, when government policies, careless government policies can murder their businesses overnight. Who wants to put it here? And now, the alternative is that if you turn the country into a project site, for instance, the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway is one of the projects I'm referring to. You get, if we have multiple projects like this going on, then there's no way the population of young people in Nigeria will not be employed. Create a project as such in the northeast, northwest.
Okay, now you mentioned the Lagos-Calabar highway. Have you thought about the cost of that particular project? Now, the good thing is that a chunk of that particular money is not coming from government, although the first initial is coming from government.
Finance,
but have you thought of the cost of that government if we have multiple of that kind of project?
It's not a problem. To buy private jets for the president is not a problem.
Let's get to 14 before is almost the last one. Massive shakeup in Nigerian judiciary to remove cabals. I put that in quotes. And corrupt generations of judges. I also put that in quotes. And judicial officers that continue denying everyday citizens access to real justice. Now, since this happens to be an open day protest, this is where we found ourselves. This is the situation we find ourselves. Don't you think we should now start coming out with tickets?
I don't get you.
It's a Nigerian lingua. If I've seen, okay, Mr. A, B, and C has been turning his court to something else. I have tickets. I have evidence I can show. This is a protest. Publish it. But you just said something about law the other time. If we want those particular reforms and we say we're going to hit the street, then we should get prepared and hit the street. Come out with this particular evidence. That is for number 14. If a judge has been found wanting, and I know you have a whole lot of experience in this, publish those undoings. Put it out there for everyone to see. There is no need of calling a cat a bad name if we can show that the cat ate the rat.
Again, we have everything to show that something is wrong with the Nigerian criminal justice system or the Nigerian judiciary at large. Now, if I may ask you, is there any reason to justify the congestion of the Nigerian courts? Why is it that to get an average litigation done in this country takes you 2, 3 years, 4 years, and beyond? Why is it that our prisons are congested with awaiting suspects who are awaiting trial? Why?
Do you know what you're doing?
The system.
Can you hear me? Do you know what you're doing now?
What am I doing?
Producing tickets. Now you are saying the exact thing and breaking it down and not just putting these 4 lines. Why is it this? We put it up there. Why is it that we put it up there? Who is in charge of this particular jurisdiction where we have 1,000 people in cell for jaywalking and they have not gone home? You put the person's name out there. Who is the arresting officer? Who put the person's name out there? It is not the governor that is responsible for that. It is people like me and you. So let us start dealing with this particular set of people. I don't know if I'm making sense because this particular one is not. And we should hold ourselves responsible for that.
How about judges who give 5 months, 6 months adjournment dates to a criminal suspect? Who is supposed to be presumed innocent?
Put their name on the placard. Put their name on the placard. Now on Souq Pulse we say talk.
It is because
we definitely talk. And while we talk, we also argue. But one thing is sure, we are looking at productivity. How, at the end of the day, if we are not productive as a people, we are as good as going to sleep. And so we bring up and say, let's talk. Let's don't be silent about anything. It doesn't matter how controversial it is or how non-controversial it is. It doesn't matter what part you stand, whether you are for or you are against. We say, let's talk. And now to say thank you very much, Damilola, for coming in. I look forward to having you before the 1st of August, and I hope you will also honor us.
No problem. I will be willing to honor.
Very much. You've been a very good sport, and I am happy you are in high spirit. And for everyone out there, just note this: we are responsible for the life we live. We are responsible because it is our choices that determine every single thing. Now, we say businesses should grow. If businesses have to grow, then we have to make the right choices. If businesses have to grow, then it doesn't matter who, where you reside, what you do, take responsibility and hold the next person responsible too. It's Souq Pulse. There is a whole lot to talk about. Is the protest going to hold? Is it not going to hold? What's the government doing? What can they do in the short term? What can they do in the long term? Are these particular demands, can you verify them? Can you not verify them? Are they directly in our faces? Are they speaking the truth? Are they not? We talk. But at the end of the day, know this: there is no other country aside this. For those that are Nigerians, and for wherever you are, you have no other country. So make sure the country is good. Remember, be your neighbor's keeper. And always be safe. My name is Chuks John-Rogers. Chuks, thank you for being with us here on Souq Pulse today. We'll do this again tomorrow. Be nice.